You are about to witness bodily dismemberment, sub-zero temperatures, and all-out mayhem. Brought to you by the Frontline Network.
Sup, CUH fans, and welcome to the 10th Company of Heroes 2 Betacast, brought to you by the Frontline Network, presented by me, FatalSaint, and my good friend Tommy. What's up, Tommy?
What's up, FatalSaint? We are here with a couple of Vico players that a lot of you will probably recognize. From the good old Vico days, we have Marcus. He is going to be taking on the Germans, and he's going to be going up against a player that should probably ring a few bells for plenty of you, which is CcArt, SO3.
Yeah, a fairly known PE player from Vico, liking his Panzer Grenadiers, but today he's actually going to be playing the Soviets, so maybe he exported his Panzer Grenadier spam-ish tactics from Vico and have now made some form of a Soviet strategy that basically involves 1,000 conscript squads and, I don't know, ISU 52s out of the... I don't even know what's gonna happen in this game. CcArt is a crazy player from Vico. Marcus, a very good Vico player as well. It's going to be interesting to see what happens on Kolodny Firma Battlefield, or whatever this map is called, and how blizzards will impact these two great players. You ready to go, Tommy?
I'm ready.
At the 5-second mark, pause in 3, 2, 1, unpause. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And Marcus is going for a double Pioneer opening, so building an additional Pioneers to his starting Pioneer squad. What about CcArt? He's going for a normal conscript start.
He is opening, straight up with a conscript, with the combat engineers being sent out. No base buildings coming up just yet. Going out for what I believe to be the munitions point. Going off.
Seems like both players are banking on the heavy munitions points outside of their bases, so maybe both of the players wants to go for some form of fast flamethrower tech, perhaps.
Possibly. Well, you know, I mean, having munitions is what this game seems all about right now, because there's such a plethora of abilities and sort of active abilities that you can use, whereas Vico had a lot of passive abilities that were just active the whole time, like Zeal. COH2, the micro of the individual engagements tends to come down a lot in terms of who can better use the abilities available to them.
Yeah, grenades and heavy equipment for your soldiers, like PPSHs for marked target, inspired troops, and whatever you can use on your individual squads. We do have a Grenadier built first from the tier 1 unit for Marcus. He's sending his second Pioneer squad up north, while he's sending his first Pioneer squad that capped the munitions and the cutoff point now going down south for the fuel. Looks to me like CcArt is banking all on those double VPs in the north and also grabbing the center one and then going for the fuel in the north and basically abandoning the south side of this map right now. What do you think about that tactic, and, you know, banking on one side and not even sending, you know, one lone engineer down south just to cap as much as you can before you are forced off by your opponent's infantry squads?
Well, the thing is with this map, obviously you've got the two VPs up in the north, which immediately makes it a lot more interesting in terms of where you ought to focus your forces. And the south is covered in quite a lot of well, it's very open. It's very red cover down there, whereas the north has a lot of heavy snow. So technically, you can sort of play that off to your advantage. Particularly, I would imagine, if you're a Wehrmacht player, you can get those MG42s, and with all the heavy snow around, it becomes much harder to flank.
We did CcArt, he basically just ignored the Grenadiers from Marcus that went into the building in the center. He just completely ignored them, Urad away from them to go decap the munitions for the German player Marcus right now. But his second unit out of tier 1 is an MG, which actually got the suppression off on those conscripts. They do manage to crawl into the building, but they are now under fire from both the Grenadier squad and an MG squad. But none of those two squads are very potent at getting units out of garrison buildings. He doesn't have any flamethrowers, grenades, or anything like that. He does potentially could be able to use rifle nades, but I do believe that you need to actually tick tier 2 to be able to use that ability. You can use the Faust straight off the bat with the grenadiers, but not the rifle nades.
Yeah, that's right. You need to get up to vet 2 before you can get those rifle nades, so getting units out of buildings is pretty tricky. You either need a lot of sustained small arms fire, or you need a flamethrower. It looks like CcArt is now approaching his first 50 munitions, so Marcus can't be far off his first 60 munitions flat flamer.
His 60 munitions just rolled in, and he's instantly upgraded flamer on that pioneer squad, which is actually now going to go and help out the grenadiers. The 2 grenadier squads now actually, and that MG on the contrary. But I gotta say, CcArt really delaying Marcus right now, and he's losing most of the territories in the north as well. But these conscripts now are in dire trouble due to that flamethrower. It can really dish out some nice damage against garrison buildings, and he does vacate with very low health with a little bit of focus fire from Marcus now. He might potentially take out the first squad from his enemy. The flamethrowers are trying to get him on retreat, but he's not getting lucky, and most of his grenadiers were actually on the move. The accuracy a little bit worse when you are moving your squads compared to being stationary behind cover, for example. So that conscript squad, even though very low health at 4-man, does manage to get away.
Now, you mentioned 1,000 conscripts at the beginning, and actually we're not far off. We've got 5 conscripts coming out from CcArt, which is one more on the usual build, which is just going for those 4 because people are sort of still in Vico mode, going for the 4 rifles. But no, he's gone for the 5 conscripts, so he's got an awful lot of capping power out there right now, and you can see that's reflected in the map control right now, with CcArt holding the vast majority of the map, and Marcus not even having contested a single fuel all game.
No, he never managed to get the fuel in the south. He sent those pioneers up north with the flamethrower upgrade to get the conscripts out of the building. He is trying to grab the VP in the center to slow down the VP drain on, and it's already down to 435. It goes really quickly. 5 minutes into the game, and it's almost 70 VPs down already, compared to his opponents, which is still sitting pretty on 500.
Yeah, it's very punishing, the VPs. You've got to be aware of them. I mean, but the thing is, with the austere players, they can, again, a little bit like Vico, they can sort of grow into something a bit more powerful than some of their parts, really. It's been lessened a little bit, given that there's no more global veterancy, there's no more vet 2 elite armor grenadiers, but you can get a similar effect with just the straight upgrading of infantry. When you can start pumping out the panzer grenadiers, they're just straight up flatly better than conscripts in pretty much all scenarios.
Yeah, looks like the mortar was caught out of position. He doesn't have any backup. All of Marcus's units are moving up north now. 3 grenadier squads in his possession, combined with that flamer Pio and the second Pio that he built from his HQ in the beginning, and an MG. So he's going for this extended tier 1, and I know that both me and you, we actually discussed a little bit, or at least you discussed a little bit with Armstrong about this strong extended tier 1 as the austere, as the German faction of Code 2, which is kind of similar to the Vico extended tier 1 as well. You can potentially do this, and it looks like Marcus is going for that exact thing. He's also have a sniper queued up, so he's gonna have 3 grants, an MG, and a sniper. So 5 units out of tier 1, plus that extra pioneer.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Armstrong the other day about his preferred build for austere, and his theory is that really there's no punishment in the game right now for the austere player to just keep on building nothing but tier 1 units, and he said that his build order was pretty much ended up getting about 4 grenadiers, about 3 MGs, a mortar, and a couple of snipers. And the reason you can do all of that is because the first vehicles from the Soviets don't really arrive very early, and although they do have those 2-man sniper teams, that's really all that's stopping you, because MG42s will shut down conscripts, snipers and mortars. They just add insult to injury, and often the only tech path for a Soviet player to go in the early game after he's built his initial conscripts is to actually go for more infantry, to go for guards or to go for shock troops. So packing on the tier 1 for there is actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, and if your opponent does start producing lots of those expensive elite units like guards or shock troops, and you have several snipers, or at least if you have the 1, even better if you have 2, even though Soviet infantry is basically all 6 men. You know, if you got 2 snipers, that only requires 3 shots each to annihilate one of those squads, and you know, it's a potential risk of losing your squads that makes the Soviets retreat as well, and then your grenadiers can basically just shovel up the rest of the units and just put them in a corner and you execute them, basically. Just get rid of them, because you have overwhelming numbers then compared to your Soviet opponent.
Exactly. I mean, the austere builds that we're seeing recently, they all center around one thing, that is getting the most hardcore anti-infantry that you can in the shortest time that you can. And the two most popular ways of doing that are either to go for that huge tier 1, and it's not just aim strong, you see a lot of players are now doing that, getting that big tier 1, lots of MGs, lots of snipers, because MGs will suppress and pin very quickly. And the other way is, of course, what we saw in the last beta cast, when we saw OMG Pop pulling off that fast tier 2. And there are a couple of ways you can do that. You can do it the straight Pious Spam way, which is how he did it. But again, I was talking to Aim Strong, doing a bit of theory crafting the other day, and his secondary build he has for austere is to go for an MG and double snipers before going to tier 2. So a very small tier 1, and then a very quick tier 2, and then a very extended tier 2, getting a flamer half track, and then getting lots and lots of Panther Grenadiers, getting packs and stuff like that.
Interesting. We do have the Fleurs Blizzard at this time during the game now, and we did actually have one Grenadier squad from Marcus going down. Not to enemy fire, actually, but to General Winter, as they call it. He went down to the cold and froze to death on retreat. He did retreat very wisely at 1 man, but it was too little, too late. The Grenadiers were so frozen that even on retreat they died.
CcArt has actually managed to tech very quickly, surprisingly quickly actually, in this game. His 5 conscript opening gave him so much fuel. He's actually got a T-34 almost ready, and we're not even at the 10-minute mark.
That's a fairly quick T-34, considering they are 75 fuel at this time in the beta. Always subject to change. Everything you see right now is just in the closed beta. Open beta will be rolling out soon-ish, and then retail June 25th, I do believe it was, or 28th, 25th? 25th, I think it was.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But yeah, basically all of Marcus's troops now, his mortar also freezing to death. He's getting flanked by conscript squad, and due to true sight, he couldn't see those conscripts actually before they popped into the building. So he's now forced to retreat, but most likely going to get out of danger without dying there. At the same time, we do have 2 combat engineers now from CcArt with flamers against this 1 Pio flamer from Marcus, which basically triggers an instant retreat for him. He does not fancy the Ost against 2 flamethrower weapons compared to his 1. This sniper, however, now from Marcus, up to 8 kills already. He's laying in the hurt, but mostly on these cheaper infantry squads from the Soviet player CcArt in the form of conscripts, not dealing an extreme amount of manpower damage. And here is now the first vehicle, the first tank on the field, a T-34 for CcArt. Finding that sniper, which is really risky. He's trying to focus firing down. He does miss him on retreat. The MG packs up and retreats as well, but that T-34 is out for blood. He is out for Hans's head. He wants to kill that guy. That sniper has been pesky to his conscript's buddies, killing 8 of them already.
Oh, he runs over the fire, gets that horrible engine burning.
Oh, sniper on the way! Sniper so low health! Oh, he goes down, I think, to the whole MG, actually. Might have been the splash damage as well, but I do believe that was the whole MG, actually. That T-34 now has a temporary damage engine due to running over that fire. Let's see if the Grenadiers get this fast off. There it goes. Damage engine. He does have that Shrek upgrade on the Panzer Grenadier, just hitting as well. Just at the same time as the Faust went in, the Panzer Grenadiers got their 2 Shreks, and this T-34, now very quick T-34 from CcArt, is in danger. Not exactly sure if they're going to get out of this. What do you think, Tommy? Immobilized.
Oh.
Game over.
Well, I think that answers that question.
Game over, man. Game over.
We've actually had a very interesting doctrine choice from CcArt. He has not gone for the doctrine that we've seen so many Soviet players go for, which is that very powerful conscript spam supported with PPSHs and hit the dirt. He's actually gone down the shock troop tree, but it's not the conventional shock troop tree. It's actually the one that gives him the IS-2 main battle tank right at the end, and includes the ability to cloak his anti-tank guns. And also gives him access to the KV-8 flamethrower tank, which is not something that we've actually seen in any of our casts yet.
No, I have not actually seen that in any replays that I have seen so far. We've done 10 beta casts with this one, and I've also viewed a couple of replays on my own without casting them, but I've not actually seen that in use, most likely due to that doctrine with Hit the Dirt, for example, is so popular right now. It's
just so powerful.
Yeah, very powerful, very popular, so no one goes for this doctrine, so I'm hoping to see both the IS-2 and maybe the KV-8 as well for CcArt, the Soviet player in this game. That would be a nice treat, I think.
We can always hope. I mean, the tier 3 is up, so the flamethrower tank will be immediately available as soon as he gets 4 CPs. But the IS-2 could be a little while yet, because that'll require tier 4, which is not known for being cheap.
No, especially the IS-2 in itself is not cheap either. It's not like in Vico where you can just get those the heavy tanks like Pershings, for example, for just a manpower cost. Now you actually have to produce it, which takes time, and you also have to pay fuel for it in Company of Heroes 2. So these heavy tanks are not as easy to get as they are in Vico. Not saying that they're very, very easy and you can get one in every game in Vico. You still have to be very preservative with your manpower to be able to afford them. But right now you also need a fuel income, a very steady fuel income, to be able to afford things like IS-2 and ISUs, 52s and whatever.
This 5 conscript opening I'm really liking from CcArt. It's given him such map control, even now, even when the tier 2 is out and the Panzer Grenadiers are rolling out. He still has so much map control, and he's had great unit preservation all this time, and he's beginning to bed out these conscripts as well. Even without Hit the Dirt, even without PBSHs, they can still be a nasty force to be reckoned with. Although he's in danger of losing, he does actually lose, just as I'm talking about unit preservation.
Unlucky flamer hit on the retreating conscripts there. He just had to stay around to throw that Molotov cocktail. He wanted to deal some form of damage to the flamer pioneers from Marcus before retreating, but eventually that actually went around and bit him in the ass, now losing one of those 5 conscripts he had. Maybe he will replace them. Maybe that's the magic number, 5 conscripts for CcArt. He just wants 5. We'll see if he manages to replace that during the game or if he goes for something else.
Well, he's actually floating quite a lot of manpower, quite a lot of fuel at the moment. He could really build anything that he wants. He's got a pretty decent manpower income as well, because his army is still relatively small. So I don't know what he's got up his sleeve, but he's going to be close to 900 manpower in a minute. So I hope he does spend it.
Maybe he's waiting for the fuel to build something.
Oh, he has just unlocked the KV-8, so maybe we can see some flames.
Was his fuel at this time? How much does he have in the
He has
bank?
130 fuel, and he has started producing a KV-8.
Oh, we got a nice treat now to see this doctrinal tank from the Soviet player CcArt in this game. Hopefully that thing is gonna wreak some proper havoc to this infantry-based army from Marcus right now, because Marcus is winning most of the engagements now with his combinations of tier 1 units and tier 2 units. The Panzer Grenadiers very good with their STG 44s against infantry, and the Shreks are basically counter to the T-34s right now, and you know, combined with Faust, the T-34s can't really get away from Shrek'd up Panzer Grenadiers as easily they can with an intact engine. So I think this KV-8, maybe it can stand up to the punishments that the T-34s just can't.
And certainly it's going to do a lot more damage as well as an infantry weapon. I mean, flamethrowers, we already know just how powerful flamethrowers are. You put them on an armored platform, and even a double strike Panzer Grenadier isn't really gonna stand up to it. So here it is, KV-8 now rolling onto the field. It's actually quite a big tank.
Yeah, it's a fairly large model. I actually really like that. Oh, nice bundle nade, but CcArt was on top of that and actually instantly retreated as he saw. I'm not even sure if he saw the animation or if he just saw the countdown, but he retreated very, very quickly, those conscripts, and they all managed to survive. Here's the KV-8 now. It looks really, really cool. The model is nice and wide. I like that. Now he's going through the heavy snow, getting a bit slowed down due to that. At the same time, in the north, the MG is setting up, and that mortar is bombarding the conscript squad. But look at Marcus's VPs now.
God. This KV-8 just rolled up to the Grenadiers and finished off the whole squad.
That was fast, and instantly the Panzer Grenadiers relocate. They get 2 nice frontal penetrations with the Panzer Shreks against this KV-8, and then instantly retreats because he knows when that main gun flamethrower goes to work, he's gonna get barbecued.
Oh my goodness, these... Oh my god,
Did he lose an entire one?
He loses an entire P-Gren squad on retreat. This KV-8, I have got to build more of these. I think CcArt has just discovered the new OP unit.
Not exactly sure what he can do right now, and all of a sudden the German infantry started wrapping.
Oh my god. He's he finishes off.
The MG, he does get Fausted, gets the damage engine, that's gonna slow it down significantly.
Did you notice that? It ran over a fire, but didn't get an engine fire critical.
Did he? Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh, I didn't.
He just ran over fire, but no engine critical. Yeah, I mean, he did get an engine crit, but it came from the Faust.
Yeah, because it's a permanent engine critical now. Wow, it's so slow with the damage engine. However, it looked to me that the top speed of it before without a damage engine was fairly high. It seemed a little bit faster than a T-34 even. I'm not exactly sure of the unit stats right now for the KV-8 because I haven't been really looking into it.
It's a bit of a beast. I mean, look at. I guess it has to be a bit slow to balance it out because it seems to have an awful lot of health. It's eaten about 8 Shreks now. And
yeah, 6 to 8 Shreks.
In a pretty good position. With 13 kills now, I mean, even if it died, it would still have virtually made its money back.
Oh, risky business from Marcus, instantly getting barbecued by that KV-8, losing the double Shrek Panzer Grenadier squad and dropping at least 1 Shrek. There might be 2 on the exact same spot, I'm not sure, but we do have tier 3 out now and a Stug out for Marcus, so that's gonna be plenty against this KV-8, even though I do believe they can actually switch their main weapons to fairly low caliber cannon, so I don't think it would be able to combat the Stug anyway, at least not on the frontal armor. So that KV-8 does go down, but it did roast a lot of German infantry. I do believe 1 Grenadier and 2 Panzer Grenadiers down, plus the MG decrewed. It's still recrewable, however, by Marcus if he feels the need to do so. But right now, Marcus down to 1 Grenadier squad, which picked up the Shrek, 2 Pyos, and a mortar, and that Stug. That's it. He lost all of the other mainline infantry to that KV-8. So even though he did lose it eventually, I think it did a lot of manpower damage and killing entire squads.
Oh yeah, easily made its cost back. I mean, it wasn't especially cheap, but my goodness, was it damaging. Now we've actually seen again a change of tactics from CcArt. I really like the way that he's approaching this from a tactical level. He's used the KV-8. And he knows now that there's a Stug on the field to combat that. Marcus, after the damage that's been done to him by that tank, he's probably going to over-invest into AT now, probably going to start building a pack or something like that.
He's getting a Panzer Grenadier which just hit the field, actually, so...
is he? Okay.
He's being careful. He's being careful
I guess
right
that's
now.
the good thing about the Panzer Grenadier. You can get those double Shreks if you need them. But we've now seen a change in tactics from CcArt. He's getting himself a shock troop squad to try and combat these Panzer Grenadiers, I imagine, because the shock troops are actually very good. When they get their PPSH upgrades, they will beat a Panzer Grenadier squad, I believe, assuming equal cover and equal veterancy.
Yeah, I do believe that the shock troops can take on the Panzer Grenadiers quite handily. It generally goes a little bit 50-50 depending on, it's very hard to get a vacuum fight with only 1 Panzer Grenadier and 1 shock troop. There's always other troops in the mix as well generally, or tanks or whatever, just other forms of units. So it's very hard to know exactly who wins in a straight up fight every single time, depending if, as you said, cover is equal.
Here comes double flamers into the mix now, opening up on that double vet Grenadier squad, armed with a Shrek, taking a lot of damage, but not actually going down yet. Nice job by the Panzer Grenadiers to come in there and focus fire them down. The mortar as well, getting in the kills. It's been constantly plugging away now. 14 infantry kills so far, and the first 18 aid of the game is thrown. Hits the Stug, damages the engine, but there's a Pioneer on hand, and it won't be long before it's back in good health.
Yeah, he just needs...
Oh, there's artillery on the Stug and the MG.
I don't think Marcus is paying attention to that right now. He's looking at something else. He doesn't see it off map. He does see it. He retreats. Incendiary off map. And instant retreat on the MG and the Pio. But that means that the Stug actually will not get his engine back for a little while due to those Pios forced to retreat due to fire all over the scorched earth everywhere. But there is nothing actually from CcArt to follow it up with, because as you said, what he invested in after losing the KV-8 was this shock troop squad.
You were talking about a vacuum.
Yeah, vacuum fight. Let's go. Let's see who wins. The Panzer Grenadiers retreats. I think they would quite...
Down,
that tipped the tide quite enormously to the Auster favor. Did you see? My whole screen was littered with body parts.
Body parts.
Everywhere, body parts. That was amazing. What a mortar hit. They were all clumped up in a small square, and that shell obliterated that shock troop squad. One guy manages to survive with 1,000 scratches on his body, probably from the explosion. But he managed to survive. That was an unbelievable hit, I have to agree. We do now have an Ostwind on the field as well, which is a really good counter to CcArt's infantry choice now for going for shock troops. They have no form of anti-tank capabilities at all.
No, they don't. They're not like guards. They don't have the sort of the AT rifles and the Brent button to fall back onto.
No, nothing.
So CcArt's going to be forced to invest in some AT now because, you know, when there was only the Stug out, he could kind of get by because it wouldn't do a whole lot of damage to his infantry. But you cannot say the same for an Oswin. And actually, CcArt getting caught out by his own wire here, slowing him down. Not going to slow down the Oswin though, he'll just drive right over it. But he does get an AZ nade thrown onto his rear by another couple of conscripts that are coming up the rear now.
Those 6-man Vet 2 conscript squad is going down south at the same time the Oswin is laying in the hurt on the other 2 Vet 2 conscript squads. But a lot of veterancy on both armies now. We do have a Vet 3, Vet 2 Grenadier, 2 Vet 2 Pios with both has flamers and a Vet 2 mortar as well, but he did lose those initial Panzer Grenadiers. So the Panzer Grenadier squad that Marcus has right now is Vet 0. What about CcArt's army, Tommy? How's the veterancy looking?
All 4 of his conscripts, he didn't rebuild the 5, all have Vet 2, although that could soon change. Yeah, he's got a Vet 3 squad there, just from the enormous amount of damage he was taking.
Panzer Grenadiers actually killing him on retreat. He loses the Vet 3 conscript squad. A stray bullet from an STG-44 on that Panzer Grenadier squad takes out the conscript. He might have actually frozen to death. I'm not exactly sure what killed it. One guy got killed by the Panzer Grenadiers, I'm sure. The last remaining guy on the crew might have frozen to death on retreat.
I'm pretty sure he must have frozen because Vet 3 conscripts get incredible buffs to their survivability, so...
He most likely froze to death on retreat. Very unfortunate losing. Getting Vet 3, how long was they Vet 3? 5 seconds? 3 seconds maybe? Before dying.
It didn't last for long, but I guess they died doing what Stalin would have wanted.
Not one step back, I guess.
Oh my goodness, these flamers up in the north doing an awful lot of damage to another conscript squad, and actually they're going to finish him off.
I guess that Marcus is now the one laying in the hurt on CcArt in the way of destroying complete units. That conscript guy is just running through the deep snow. You would imagine that that snow might have put him out from the fire, but I guess not. He still dies very painfully.
Yeah, you would have thought
slowly.
like you could activate ability just to like
jump in the snow.
Yeah, jump in the snow, roll around in the snow. But maybe they're too far gone. We still, CcArt, he just started building. Ooh.
Ouch.
Ooh, I like the sound of this. I didn't actually realize this. You know, I was talking about how the IS-2 could only be built from the tier 4.
Is that one of the
tier 3?
Ah,
it's
so it's the
battle tank.
It's the ISU-52 is built from tier 4.
That needs
IS-2 is from tier 3. We do apologize. We are not 100% read up on Code 2 yet.
Yeah.
Lack of time for my part. Extreme lack of time.
But the IS-2, yeah, that can actually be built out of tier 3. Now that makes it a lot more viable because tier 3 is already very useful for Soviet players. Most Soviet players will go tier 3 at some point. So it's not like you have to build a tier 4 just to get it. And immediately it becomes much more useful that way. And it's almost here. I haven't seen an IS-2 in a replay yet either, so I'm really excited to see what this has done. You know, CcArt, he's giving me a lot of ideas. He's giving me a lot of ideas this game.
It's very, very interesting to see top-level players actually play Company of Heroes 2 and see how they strategically think and what they build. Their build orders are always extremely interesting to both me and Tommy, so it's always fun. This is like basically the fun part of shoutcasting, doing the shoutcast, seeing the great players doing their thing, and then, you know, then the minuscule things comes up with that's like consists of 8 hours of editing and encoding, but whatever, you know, this shoutcasting part is extremely fun, and I'm not gonna stop doing it unless someone forces me. Unless someone forces me to stop. The Oswin actually runs over the fire in the center, gets a temporary damage engine. Wow, that was a lot of damage from the IS-2. Here comes some suicidal truck. I'm not exactly sure where that's going, but we did get a Panzerfaust on the IS-2, and that Stug is not doing bad against an IS-2 frontal armor. Getting a few frontal penetrations on it, doing some decent damage actually.
Doing pretty good damage, and it's firing very, very quickly. I commented on this in a previous cast, but I really think they ought to tune down the rate of fire of the Stug.
It's going a bit insane. Wow! Look at that! Oh no! No! Wow! This is impressive. That Stug is almost single-handedly combined with that Shrek and the Panzerfaust from the Grenadier takes out the IS-2. It is abandoned. Let's see Marcus needs to use attack move on it. It's actually getting repaired. The abandoned tank is getting repaired, but here comes the Shreks to finish it off. Explodes. Very nice. That IS-2 was not long-lived. It looked like it was going to do a lot of damage to the Austria army, Marcus's army right now, but it didn't actually do as much as CcArt needed to, and I think right now he finds himself without any AT, and CcArt drops from the game when Marcus is on 100 VPs left actually only, but he just has nothing left. He lost 2 conscript squads, plus the third one, the fifth one that he lost early in the game, and he lost all of his tanks, the KV-8 and the IS-2. Even though the KV-8 did quite a lot of damage to the German army right now. I'm not exactly sure what CcArt could have done differently. It was basically just better unit positioning, maybe. What do you think?
I think...
He went a little bit willy-nilly with the IS-2. It's indestructible. Just charge into the center where everything's basically sitting at.
Yeah, I have a feeling he wasn't too experienced using IS-2s against Stugs. Apparently Stugs are like the new beasts, the new behemoths of the field. You know, they seem small and cheap, but actually they're packing a bit of a punch. I mean, I think, you know, as with Mac and Vico, if you see Axis Tier 3 and your US, you would get an AT gun because there's no other way to effectively fight Stugs. There's no cost-effective way to fight Stugs without AT guns. So I think that was what was really lacking there. He had the manpower for it, so I think, yeah, he should have gotten himself probably just one AT gun would have been enough to keep hold of the VPs for long enough to win.
Yeah, one AT gun would put the Stug in check for at least. That would push it back. It would be forced to back off because it can't single-handedly take on one AT gun even. It can't single-handedly take on basically anything in the form of hard AT when it comes to non-tanks, because it is an anti-tank destroyer. It is a tank destroyer. It's basically a proper anti-tank tank. But at the same time, you know, Marcus did have the Ostwind that could go in and circumstrafe one AT gun. I'm not exactly sure what CcArt could do against, you know, Marcus's unit composition right now, but at that little window after KV-8, Marcus didn't have much. He basically had nothing. No. He had 4 units, I think, maybe 5 combined with the Stug, but you know, his army was shrunk to a very small part of what it initially was. So nice comeback from Marcus, I gotta say. Very nicely played.
Very nice.
And very nice build orders from both players, and tactics and unit awareness for, you know, almost the entirety of the game. Eventually it started rolling downhill for CcArt, but at the same time it did so for Marcus as well. He did lose a unit here or there, but most of them to that beastly KV-8. I was happy to be able to see that. The IS-2 had a nice shot on the Ostwind, but apart from that, not much. Still nice to see the model in action, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Always good to see new tanks in their glory. Might need a bit of a buff up in the old stats.
Yeah, a little bit of a buff up. But it's a beta. Anything can change. Thanks, guys, for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and comment and like this video and tell all of your friends. And we'll see you guys for the next episode.
See you guys.